So this is the 2017 model 701 Husqvarna Enduro, and I've put on about 1,000 miles at this point. Interesting bike, heavy, and clearly from the factory it's set up for the guy that wants to look like he's riding an enduro bike, but he's really going to stay on the street. Gearing is phenomenally high, useless if you're going to get off-road on any kind of single track where you might need to bog it down a little bit. It's going to be a lot of clutch slipping. So plan on gearing it way down. I gotta catch my breath. It's a lot of work working that thing up the hills. So the first thing was a skid plate. The original one is a plastic cover, and there are two, call them dowel pins at the back of the skid plate that go into rubber grommets, and then up top 2 bolts. Pretty much the first time I had it off-road, I don't know, I must have hit a twig and it flexed in the middle of the skid plate so that the dowels popped out and fell down. So I'm dragging the skid plate. So went with the blue anodized aluminum, get the cases covered up a whole lot better from what the plastic skid plate was doing as well. Got rid of the Continental TKC80 tires. Absolutely junk when you're off-road, and particularly if you hit anything with mud. So I've gone with full knobbies. These are Mifos. In the front, it's a Mifo tire, Enduro, Stonemaster in the front, and content with it. Suspension, I've loosened it up a lot to absorb because this bike is so heavy, and I actually got a pinch flat a couple weeks ago with 28 pounds of air, so I'm off on another solution. I'll get to that in a second on the back. The oil filters are not the same as a KTM, so I'm still trying to track down one of the oil filters. I've changed the oil, but I had to leave a dirty filter in. The rear shock, I don't know if these come out of the factory random or if they go to one particular preload. This thing was so tight. I've removed half of my free space on the threads just to get it soft enough where I can actually ride the thing. And I really need to go a little bit more to get the right sag in there. Let me just back this thing up for a second here. Another little thing I'm not too pleased about. This bike sat out in the rain the other night, and I got condensation all in my little dash, and it shouldn't be doing that from rain. It's ridiculous. The rear, so this is the gas tank here. Underneath the cover is the gas tank. It's only 3.2 gallons. Gas there. Reserve comes on at 2.6, and if I'm out bopping around like this, I'm getting 50 miles a gallon. If I go 55 on the asphalt, 55-60, I get upwards of 70 plus. But going 55-60 on asphalt isn't my thing, so I will never see that kind of mileage except for my little test I did to see what kind of mileage it would get under optimum conditions. So on the rear, same thing, the TKC80s had to go. I then went to a Mifo. It was a 90% off-road, 10% on-road dot tire, and it was gone. It was 80% gone in 300 miles to the point of being useless. So this is actually my third rear tire, and this is a really crazy system that really shouldn't work, but it does. So if you're going to ride on the road, you need a dot tire. This won't work if you're going to stay everything legal. So this is a Maxxis tire, and I've used Maxxis and I didn't like them at all. But in this scenario, it's phenomenal. So you'll note here, these are actually 2 different air valves, and this is the NewTek tubeless system. So what I've got here is, this is the high pressure, and there's just a small, almost like a bicycle tire bead. Runs around the inside, and it's encased in a firm, I'll call it a plastic, it's not rim. And it's got 125 pounds of pressure in it, and when that swells up, it forces the bead of the tire up against the rim. So the entire circumference of the tire now is basically a rim lock. And then this guy here is actually to fill the air chamber within the tire. So it is now a tubeless tire, And believe it or not, I got 4 pounds of air pressure in there. Yes, you heard that right, 4. Number 4 pounds of air pressure. And I can run this thing down on a windy asphalt road at 60, 70, no issues. And when I'm on the off-road stuff here, the tire flattens out, it sucks up the rocks, and I got double the traction I had with that Mifo Enduro tire, and pathetic what it compared to the Continental that was on there. Particularly on these hard-packed gravel roads, the other tires would just spin, and this thing will actually hook up. So this is the Maxxis Desert tire. So I'm going to do the same thing on the front. The bead is these bikes have got wider rims than most. So this is the only tire that will work with this setup, with this rim. And the front tire, the bead is a little too thin. It's not getting sealed off. So I've just gotten a Maxxis for the front, and I think that's going to do it. But I'm really, really pleased the way the tires are working out. Having the exhaust blow out on the blinker, there was a little piece of like foil. It got hot. This thing distorted, got soft. It probably hit a branch. It just knocked it off. So another like really odd piece of engineering. I have another pipe on order, so that'll eliminate that big old hot thing. Now the gearing, there are no countershaft sprockets available at this point in time. So I went from stock 45 to a 49 tooth rear sprocket. I'm kicking myself. I should have gone to 51, but I went with the aluminum with the steel on the outer. But anyway, it got it down pretty close to where I want it. I would just like it a little bit tighter for gnarly uphill off-road stuff, which arguably 300 and pick your number, 320, 340 pound motorcycles got no business being on, but it doesn't do too bad. Other issue is the ABS. If you've ever tried to ride one of these bikes off-road with ABS, it's the scariest thing, probably the most dangerous thing you can do. So I got the dongle, plugged that in, and it's eliminated the rear ABS, so at least I can skid the rear tire. It's fine on the gravelly stuff, but if you're off-road, steep downhills, you can't stop. You bounce over a little rock, and the thing, you want it to drag, and it just keeps rolling. So you get this scenario, you can't stop the bike. It just keeps rolling because it won't skid. So I've left with that dongle. You can go, and of course when it's stock, you can just turn the ABS off completely. But on some of these dirt roads, I mean, I get going really good, and it's nice to be able to grab a handful of front brake and have that ABS there. So the dongle just kicks out the ABS on the rear and leaves the front engaged. So I'm happy with that scenario. One of the funny things, maybe it's different from dealer to dealer. This bike, they give you a kit with the grab rails in a box and handguards in a box. So you actually have to drill through your own body panels to line things up to put the grab rails on. But if you're going to ride these things off-road, there just might be that one occasion where you need to pick up the rear end of the bike and there's nothing to hang on to. So mounted those. These are the Cherubies, the bigger handguards, whatever the name on these things is, Moto X or something like that. Because I'm in a lot of Manzanita, hard brush. Don't want my brakes getting grabbed on, not to mention saving my knuckles. So the stock ones, not stock, but from the factory, the handguards are like these little KLR kinds of things where they mount to the handlebars, and they're just a little plastic flimsy shield. So might do something to deflect wind, but it's not going to do anything to protect your handlebars or your levers or anything else. So overall impressions of the bike, I don't know. I'm trying to get this thing to be like a real dirt bike, but it's got way too much weight to make that happen. But in terms of the dual sport world, it's pretty cool. I can definitely, this sounds silly, but I have to say it, but you can definitely do just so much more than you can do with something like a KLR or the heavy Japanese dual sport bikes. But this is no 500 EXC or anything else like that. That extra 60 pounds, 70 pounds, whatever it is, it's a lot to deal with on mostly the really tight, rocky, steep, single-track downhill things where you need to get your foot out, you need to balance, and you wonder if you're going to be able to support it. But having fun with it. So there's the overall review, and I'll include some little tips on here. Some, not tips, but some riding stuff. You can kind of hear the engine and see what it's doing. The only thing I'm still waiting for is the Scott's steering stabilizer. It's going to raise these like 3/8 of an inch, and then I got the 1-inch risers as well. So I'm going to get a lot more lift out of the handlebars, which I desperately need. and that's probably the biggest piece left to go, and getting the tubeless system in that front wheel. Really important to me that when I'm out here by myself, I don't get a flat tire. That's one thing it's going to kind of foul me up. I'm not really worried about the engine breaking down at all. So let's go do some riding. I'll include some other clips in here. It's got 2 tripometers, and clock's due 2:08 in the afternoon. That's my ABS. It's lit up when it says it's not on. You've got another tripometer, so 103 miles since I tanked up yesterday, and that other one was just since I got gas this morning. And I'm actually now at 1,200 miles on the bike. Kickstand. I've eliminated that on my KLR. So shifting in from first to second, I just looked down, I was doing like 21, 22 miles an hour. So I'll probably do like 30 in first the way it's geared right now. 5th and 6th are overdrive gears. I don't even tell the difference with the gearing change I made when I'm out on the freeway. I just took my eyes off the road to see how fast I was going. I got blinded. Definitely need to get the fold down mirrors. These things drive me crazy. That was 60. Happens fast. I don't know these trails well enough to... That front end is really sketchy. I got 28 pounds of air in there. Great trail for somebody that hasn't done a whole lot of off-road. Your Suzukis, your KLRs, good stuff through here on those. I can do this all day long, never see the same trail twice. Might go from some fairly wooded areas, burned out areas, trails to turn off to do some single track. That was 62 miles an hour right there. It didn't take long. Yeehaw. So this is my idea of an Enduro bike. They belong in the woods. Ever present of the weight. down fairly low, but it's definitely there. And these mirrors, I need to get those fold down mirrors so I can fold them at will. Okay, this is pretty steep. I'm dragging the rear wheel this whole way. It's not even rolling now. The mirror's driving me nuts. I might have a deer coming up behind me. And in here, I know that's my big one. Yeah, it's good size. So this is a 24-inch hand chainsaw. So, for the benefit of me and other riders that come through here, this shouldn't take long. That's okay, it's out of the way. Cool. So I give this bike a lot of respect on these steep downhills. I can barely touch the ground. I mean, I'm only 6'2", but and the weight, it's a little heavy, a little top heavy, so if you start to lean, it might be a little tough to save. So we'll take this cautiously. This will cool me down in a hurry. Now. I was out here on the Continental tire, and all it did was just spin. As soon as it got on the pipe a little bit, it would just spin. Now it hooks up pretty well. Nothing like going through the tall grasses without knowing what's there. This starts to get kind of steep looking. Ugh. I have no idea what's under this grass. Ugh. I'll tell you this much, that stock gearing never would have been able to do this. And I got tons of traction with that 4 pounds of air pressure in this tire. Holy crap, this is rough. Oh, there's a trail again. Who knows what lurks behind every corner here. It's a pretty good hill though, I know it's not going to show. Wow. Definitely big bike territory. Wow, who knew? Not me. Based on the fact there's no tracks, I'm going to say nobody knew. I love these little splits. Somebody knew because the logs are cut. Whoa! Now that's not nice.